welcome to the Conscious Parenting Show. For those who are new to the show, you can find more information on my website at parentdoovers.com. I encourage you to spend some time on my site, and you can also engage with me at any time if you have any questions. Today I would like to delve into the question of why, specifically why so many of us blindly follow rules set by society or things we do based on the teachings from past generations. Until a few years ago, I never questioned rules. I realized when I became certified as a conscious parenting coach that I had raised my own children by disciplining them with guilt and shame instead of connection and understanding. Over the past few years, I have reflected on my own upbringing. I am lucky that I led a very happy childhood, but the teaching style in school was extremely rigid. I was raised in South Africa under the English tradition of schooling and etiquette. We wore school uniforms which came with punitive consequences if not followed to the exact specifications. It was ingrained in me that our elders always know better, teachers know better, and we are never to question authority. While my parents were always supportive of us, the traditional parenting style was also based on hierarchy, where parent knows best and is always right. I was amazed when I moved to America at the age of 15 that there were debates in the classroom and students would even fight the teachers on their grades. Even though I have lived here most of my life, my early childhood upbringing is still embedded inside of me. I am a rule follower, and only recently have I started questioning rules that just don't make sense to me. Today, many of us walk with blinders tied to our surroundings, but it's important to broaden our scope and question things that don't naturally resonate with us. Our children's generation is experiencing things we never encountered growing up, such as social media and gender expression. A conscious parent will accept that our children can be our best teachers and cause us to look inward to keep an open mind with changes that are taking place in the world. I have even changed the books I read. Now I prefer true stories that take place in other cultures. I recently read that in India, it was very normal to arrange marriages when the bride and groom were just 12 years old. The bride would move in with the groom's family, and she would be trained how to take care of her future husband. Today, arranged marriages are still the tradition in India, but not at such an early age. Their society is patriarchal, where the husband's family takes the primary role with the newlywed couple. Many other cultures have traditions that seem strange to us, but only because we are not familiar with it. Some African tribes put rings on the necks of their tribe members to elongate them over time. It sounds very unsafe and strange, yet it feels quite normal to put metal rings on our children's teeth and tighten wires to pull teeth straight over a period of 3 years. This would sound barbaric if we were not accustomed to this process of putting braces on our children's teeth. While there are differences between India and the United States, we also blindly follow rules set by society from past generations. From serious to outlandish questions, ask yourself why. Why do so many of us blindly follow the religion we are born into? Why do women wear high-heel shoes when they kill our feet? Why do women polish our nails and ponder over the color for the week? Can you imagine if animals in the wild went roaming around with polished nails? Why do we eat at set times and insist that our children always eat 3 meals a day? Why are certain foods tied to breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Many cultures deem body parts private, while other cultures leave them uncovered. We follow most rules in society out of tradition, but who made them up, and what would happen if we disrupted them? Some rules are made for safety reasons, like driving designated lanes and adhering to traffic lights. I learned in business school that we should always question any process by asking the question why 5 times. If there is not a good answer, then it's time to change the process. If you are a parent, how often have you responded to a child's question of why with "because I said so," or "because that's the way it's done," or "because I am the parent"? The conscious parent will ponder the question, and if they cannot come up with a solid answer for the why, they will decide if it's time to change or remove the rule. Today my guest is Apurva Lankad. She's from Bangalore, India. She is also a conscious parenting coach, which validates that this new way of parenting is spreading globally. Apurva had a traditional arranged marriage. She is the parent of two beautiful daughters, Ranaya, age 8, and Navya, age 3. Apurva and I met during our conscious parenting certification. We were randomly paired up as buddy coaches and have remained friends ever since. So Apurva, hi, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Bangalore, India. I know it's very late in your time zone, and I really appreciate you being here today. I have a couple questions.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm very excited to be on your channel all the way in the United States of America.
Great. Couple questions. So knowing that there's a strong social patriarchal setup in India, how did they feel about you signing up for the conscious parenting coaching, being that we're talking today about the way we look at norms in society?
Honestly, my family didn't know exactly what I'm getting into. They didn't know what is conscious parenting. So they were very open to me learning something new.
Great. And my other question is, I know you're very educated. So is that the norm in India?
Yes, now it is.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And
so yes.
So we were talking a lot about traditional things and, questioning traditional norms in society. I know in India, arranged marriages are still prominent, and that you had an arranged marriage. Tell us about that process. How old were you, and who set it up for you?
So I was 24 when I got married, and my family set it up for me.
And how old were you? Did you always know you would have an arranged marriage?
Yes, no doubt about that.
So just from early childhood, they would just kind of say, you would instill that you would be having an arranged marriage. And who actually makes the connections with the other family, or, how is that done?
Okay, so every community has their own way of doing it, and these methods are evolving by the day. In my community, there are a lot of protocols to be followed. Okay, so the girl's family goes to meet the boy and his family without the girl. If they like the boy and his family, they invite them to their house to meet the girl. The boy's family comes to see the girl. If they like the girl, then they set up a meeting for the boy and the girl to meet. Then the boy and girl meet a couple of times and decide whether they want to spend the rest of their lives together. So yeah, during my time, we were allowed to meet once or twice. I mean, I was allowed to meet once or twice. Now, of course, they meet more than a couple of times and then decide.
So it's really sort of like a family-to-family connection.
Right.
And what happens, I've met your husband on Zoom. He's very handsome. And what happens if you meet the intended groom and you're like, no, not happening?
So like I said, at the stage where the boy and girl meet, if any one of them aren't okay with the intended to be spouse, then we have an option to not go ahead with that proposal any further.
Okay. And
of course, if we feel the lack of attraction and compatibility after the wedding happens, then there can be many outcomes. Some couples just compromise and adjust due to family pressure. Some couples try marriage counseling, and very few actually decide to end the marriage soon enough so that they have another chance at finding a suitable partner.
So if you do get married, is there a way out, or once you're in, you're in?
So mostly once you're in, you're in.
Right.
We really try hard to make the marriage work. But yes, fortunately for me and my husband, our core values match, and that's a big tick mark for both of us.
Right. All right. So I guess more like in the dating game, if you, how long was your courtship with your husband?
4 months.
Okay, so during that 4 months, you could change your mind, I suppose. Like you said, I think the key thing, you just brought up a really good point. Your core values match. Because how do we know that it's going to match? I got married at 23. How did I know that this was going to last? You really have to grow with each other, so that's great. And I also have noticed that in the USA, there's dating apps, and I even know people who now are working with matchmakers because they don't like the dating apps. So there may be something to this, So I just love hearing it. Now, Apurva, you have 2 girls. They're 8 and 3. Have you already told them that they're going to have arranged marriages?
No.
You're going to let
I think now, right. No. So things are changing. We are evolving. So I don't think I'll have any unbreakable rules about marriage for them like I had. I feel we are sandwiched between 2 generations. We had to listen to our parents, and now we have to listen to our children. So I'm sure they will do whatever they wish, and we will have to be okay with their decisions. My elder one does question me a lot of times, and like you said, my immediate response is to tell her, because that's how it's done. But I'm learning to let go of my conditioning and let my daughters take the lead, and I'm here to guide them. And that is one thing that conscious parenting has taught me.
And what do your parents and your in-laws say about when we don't say, well, that's how it's done? Because I know that's a conversation I have with my parents a lot, that I tell them, I'm teaching them so much, and they're so great where they're being receptive, and I'll just tell them that they're doing things based on the way they were parented, and they are open enough to listen and say, you know what, you're probably right. So that's where I am in my parenting journey, where I'm much more open-minded. And so when my kids question me, I really stop and I pause and I think instead of just responding. And I can tell you, for the first 15 years of raising my kids, they were raised in a very traditional parenting style of perfectionism and, shaming, blaming, punishments. And I really wish I had known this information earlier, but I didn't have it. And so that's why I came up with the name Do-Overs, because all we can do is move forward and do it over again.
I love that name.
Yes, and so we've talked a lot about it. So just another question for you. There is another beautiful tradition in the Indian way where you had told me where the brother gives the sister a gift.
Oh yeah, Rakhi.
Right. So
it's called Raksha Bandhan.
Right. So even though there's some traditions, that we question, I remember you telling me about that, and I thought it was so beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So Rakhi is like a thread, and we tie that thread on our brother's wrist, and it's like, it's like they will always take care of us, and then the best part is they give us a gift. So we are looking forward to that.
So you know what, so that is such a beautiful tradition that we do not have here. As a matter of fact, growing up, I was very much at odds with my brother. We've become close as adults, but that was not that's not a tradition here. So even though there are some traditions that might seem, strange to us, every culture also has other traditions that are just so beautiful. So I think that that's terrific. So Apurva, question: if there was one society rule that you would like to question and see changed in your area, what would it be?
I wish women were treated with respect and there was equality on every level. I mean, society is unfair with women as compared to men. For example, women are still not fully given the scope to be who they are, in spite of all the financial independence and empowerment. So if a woman chooses not to have a baby, she's still judged, sometimes even in metro cities.
Oh, that's really interesting. So if you don't have a child, then you're sort of looked at as lesser than, or questioned
Yes, you're judged. Like, why not? What's the problem? You should be having babies. There's a prescription we have to follow. First child, second child, and
And what happens if it just doesn't happen?
that's okay. It's just that the woman will, feel vulnerable because she will be judged a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Eventually, things will go back to normal as time heals everything. But yes, the woman faces the rougher road to recovery.
Right. Gotcha. So interesting. So, Apurva, we still have a little bit of time. I'd like to share with our audience when you and I first met as buddy coaches. And you were all the way in India, and I was so excited to connect with you, being that you were doing conscious parenting. And I just was fascinated, by the culture and, how beautiful it was that you were getting into this. And I remembered us speaking, and I had told you that I had recently moved to the Upper East Side in Manhattan. And you were so excited. You said, oh, New York City. And I thought you were going to ask me about the Statue of Liberty and Times Square. And you said to me, so you're on the Upper East Side? I said, yes. And you said, oh, my goodness, that's where Gossip Girl is taped. And I just remember laughing because I used to watch Gossip Girl as well and saying, like, it's so interesting that all the way from India, your interest was Gossip Girl. And, so we're all...
Back then, I was so much into Gossip Girl. So, yeah, that was my first reaction.
So, yeah, exactly. So I just thought it was fun. And, you've been so supportive of me. And when I went live with my website and my coaching business, we've been, going back and forth and talking about how to empower each other. And what I love is that we're just abundant with each other. We're not, we don't come from a place of like, well, I'm not going to promote you because that takes away from me. So we've always talked about that. Like the conscious parent coaches are just promoting the message, and we just really like the message out there. And this is a fantastic message, and I really appreciate you coming on the show today and being up so late, and give that family of yours a hug. And you really have like added some wisdom for us, and I really thank you for that. So we will chat soon.
Thank you, Andy. It's always lovely to have these conscious conversations with you.
Amazing, Apurva. Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
So that was a great chat with Apurva all the way from India. As I did further research, India has the lowest divorce rate in the world with 1%. The United States is 19th with 52%, and Portugal is number 1 with 95% of all marriages failing. I will leave it to you to question and research the why if you are interested to look further. While arranged marriages are not the norm in the United States, some Orthodox religions do follow this tradition. Children are much more inquisitive than we are as adults. Starting around the age of 3, they ask why about 50 times a day, and this usually drives us parents crazy. But the next time your toddler asks why, take a minute to really think about it and see if you can give a thoughtful answer. I hope today's program inspires you to become more conscious and has empowered you to question the rules that have been set in our society. I will see you next month with more from the Conscious Parenting Show. Bye.